I think everybody enjoys the demonstration at the beginning. It gets our attention. It needs to be maybe a little bit shorter, but you've got a good hook to draw us in. The topic is very clearly identified. I do think that your thesis ends up being a little bit vague. The first two parts of the speech seem to be about historical development, and then we're going off on a different tangent, and so I think you need something that pulls those things together. You did have a good setup of what the content was going to be. I thought you had a pretty clear preview of what the contents would be. I also thought that you provided a lot of supporting material, especially on the first couple of points where you're doing the kind of historical context information. There's a citation of material that suggests that you put in some research. The explanations I thought were good, especially on that first section where you're talking about the origination of drumming in human culture and what its functions were. I like the illustration about the stumps and the branches and how ultimately they might have become drums, and you give us a little bit of an explanation about that process. It did seem like there was a quick jump, and it could have been a little bit smoother when you get to the mythology about the drums. We went from what the drums are made of to all of a sudden the spirits of the drums. I'm going, where'd that come from? And I think it's in the material that you have there, but the transition to that was a little bit awkward. Speaking of transitions, we were talking about historical context. We've got the ancient use of drummings, and then we were talking about the American Revolution. The next thing I know, I'm talking about drum sales, and it just seemed like such a an odd, incongruent shift in tone and subject that maybe that whole segment could have been left out, or the emphasis needs to be something different about how important the drums are to contemporary music instead of looking at something from the perspective of an economic perspective, how they're utilized, something along those lines. Except for the little bit of audio trouble that you had at the end, I thought you used the visual materials pretty well, and it was a little disappointment because we had some anticipation, and that would have been something that maybe if we'd checked on earlier we'd have figured out. But don't let it spoil what the visuals were in the speech. For the most part, they work pretty well. Most people, I think, are probably interested in the objects. They've got the drum there. That always draws people in when they've got something to look at. We're not just looking at a picture of something, but it's large enough for people to see. And then you started off with your attention device using it. I thought that was good. Like I said, I just think the theme needed to be a little bit more focused. You got a lot of good stuff in the speech, and the historical parts fit pretty well together. The other stuff, not quite as much, and if you had a sharper way of going at it, maybe things could have come together a little bit more forcefully. All right, thank you.